Hello, and welcome back to Iron Butterfly Podcast. My name is Megan Jaffer.
And I'm Katie Hopkins, and we'll be your hosts.
We created Iron Butterfly Podcast in honor of Eloise Page, the original Iron Butterfly. And on this very special season, we are going inside our first documentary feature film titled The Power We Hold: Stories from Women Spies. This film features 10 of the most powerful women you've never heard of, and this season, we'll get up close and personal with each of them. We hope you find their stories as powerful as we do.
So I actually love that you picked this story because your code name, as we know, or maybe it will be your code name at the end of this episode or not, but is Rebel at Work, right? And you got that Rebel title, I guess, because you, when the internet was dawning, had basically told CIA this is coming, and they didn't really believe it.
Yeah, I was one of several. I wasn't the only one, but there weren't many of us.
Right, right. And so I'm kind of curious if that moment, and I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that, just learning experience for you as well, but I'm curious if that moment that you just told us came before or after that.
Before.
Okay, interesting.
Just before I go to London.
Okay.
I have this short stint as the deputy of the Central Cuba Caribbean, whatever it was called. Central America, yeah.
And so do you think that informed how you approached this new situation?
No.
So they were completely
I made the
separate.
same mistakes again, I'm sure. No. Because I didn't think of them as the same situation.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
Interesting. So you then you go to London, and that's sort of where you develop this belief that the internet is...
No, there was no internet in London.
Okay.
So I'm in London from 90 to 93.
Okay.
There is no internet there. And what I do develop in London, so I'm a GS-15, what I do develop in London is confidence in my abilities. Mm. Because...
How old are you at that point?
I'm 35 when I get there. I'm, just not toe-to-toe because it wasn't antagonistic, but I'm like hand in glove working with the Brits. And I, surprised myself to find myself like their intellectual equals or they're, like I'm like just a member of their team, and these people are Oxford, Cambridge educated. The British intelligence service, cabinet office, diplomats, they are really, really good. They are really well educated. Mm-hmm. And they're extremely well-spoken. Their command of the vocabulary is exquisite. I remember once, I have very good English friends. He's died, but the wife is still my friend. And I'll see her in a few weeks when I go to London. And but her husband, Gordon, once said to me, she goes, Carmen, I don't know, we were having a conversation. She goes, Carmen, for an American, you're really quite literate. And I was like, and I was like, thank you, Gordon. And then, you'll love this. And then, another time, Gordon was kind of some brilliant but kind of delusional person. And Gordon was saying, what were the two, we were very good friends. What were the two greatest American influences on post-World War II Britain? And I go, no, I don't. I'd love to hear what you think it is. So one of them was MGM movies. It's really fascinating.
Wow.
Because after the horrible, things are bleak in 1950s England. It's not a happy society, 1960s or 1970s. And as he said, Gordon was fascinated with the CIA. And he goes, he had a theory that the MGM was run by the CIA. You heard it here first. Who knows? Really? Who knows? And two, he thought it was a deliberate attempt to raise the spirits of Europe and counter the Iron Curtain with a view of a better life. So one of them was MGM.
Wow.
And then the other was Clint Eastwood. I was like, Clint Eastwood? And he goes, yes, Carmen. Clint, majestic director, yada, yada, yada. And so, okay. And then they asked me, what are the two greatest British influences?
Oh, my.
And then I'm like, whoops. Because I can't think of anything. And I swear on the Bible, this is what it said. I went, Haley Mills.
Oh my God.
Haley Mills and Mrs. Peel of the Avengers.
And what was his response?
And it took them a while to recover from that because they were, they thought I was going to say something like really intellectual or.
Yeah, like a writer or a playwright
or something.
Yeah.
Even like Shakespeare. I wish I had thought of Shakespeare. That would have been a good answer. But I said Haley Mills. And they actually go, who is Haley Mills? Because she was a much bigger star in America than she ever was in England, apparently.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it kind of makes me laugh because we had an episode, one of our first Five Eyes episodes, a couple weeks back.
Yeah,
and
I haven't seen it yet, but I noticed that you had one, yeah.
And we were talking about something similar about how, influences or something.
Yeah.
And the first thing I could come up with, I also couldn't come up with it. And I just said David Beckham.
There you go. Fits in the same basic
that is
category.
actually the same category.
I said David
That's
Beckham.
so true. I know. I probably would say Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I learned from Gordon and Gloria, which was a huge revelation to me, and this is serious. We're at an event, and they want us to take our seats. So the public announcer is saying, ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The event is about to commence. And Gordon goes, God, I hate it when they use Norman English. And I'm like, what? Norman English? What
is that?
What is that? And they go, don't you know the difference between Norman and Anglo-Saxon English? And they go, I'm good on polyester, but I'm not, that one escapes me. So, and I've since learned, this is all very true. English is a very rich language, and it has the original kind of Norse German part in it. Then William the Conqueror comes in 1066, and so French becomes a dominant part of the English language. And so we have the language, the English of the upper class, the Normans, is French Latin English, and the English of the Anglo-Saxons is the English of the common folk is this Anglo-Saxon English. So the Anglo-Saxon word for commence is start. Because it's the short, like Hemingway-esque kind of word, which is the Anglo-Saxon word. So that's why to this day, when people try to sound really intelligent in their writing, they use flowery language. Mistakenly, they use flowery language, which is Norman English. All those big 4 or 5 syllable words.
But what surprises me about that story is if I were to have picked between you two, who would want it more flowery?
Yes.
That would have been him.
You're exactly right. But he was, he was an iconoclastic kind of guy. And that stuck with me my whole life. And, in my sort of editorial philosophy was in that direction anyway. But now I understood there was like a theory behind how I edited.
I love that.
Shorter
so
languages,
yeah.
crisper sentences.
Yeah, if
That's
the Oxford
Anglo-Saxon
educated.
English.
Yeah.
Man,
I love that.
I've learned
I know.
through these stories. I've learned a couple of things about being an analyst that I've never heard before. So this is interesting that no one has ever said.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, where do we want to
So
go?
you come back to the U.S.
Yes.
And then
the internet. That's when the internet appears.
Okay.
And I immediately, my mother, who is now, working for the Department of the Army and has got a good career going. And when I get back in the summer of 93, she's bought herself a personal computer. So she's cutting edge.
Yeah.
And then somehow or other I discover this internet thing, probably through work, or I don't remember. But I immediately, within a year, I know the internet is going to change the world. I'm positive like I've never been positive about anything before. And I'm like going into the agency and I'm telling people, this internet's going to change everything. It's going to change knowledge organizations. It's going to get rid of kind of the middle layer of a lot of activities. And we're going to have to adjust to it. And I'm nobody, except there were a few people. There was a handful of people who saw it the same way. But generally speaking, like the kind of thing you would hear in the agency is somebody would say, well, I'm not going to get internet unless they pay me, they reimburse me for it. That was very common.
That's such a government thing to say.
That is such a government thing to say. And eventually, when I get involved in bringing in, so I'm in charge of a program to bring in a content management system into the agency because, it's not worth going through all these hoops that we went through, but the very beginning of the internet, people had this idea that it was all websites and that somehow we had to kind of manage content on the website kind of like a library manages content. So you had to have, taxonomies and layers and organization. Mm-hmm. And so we finally got a contract going and the IT guy that was running the contract, we're like having lunch after we're doing some vendor interviews or something. And he says, so Carmen, have you bought a cell phone yet? And I had, but I'm like immediately appalled that my IT guy, who's supposed to take me to the cutting edge of content management, which was the cutting edge of the cutting edge at the time, he's like, he's not sure cell phones are worth it. And I'm like already positive. We're going there. It's already happening. It's just a matter of how quickly you transition. Mm-hmm. It was nutty.
I think what's interesting about this is comparing it now to AI.
Oh yeah,
totally.
And how people are thinking about AI, how people are thinking about AI in government and outside of government, and how you basically need to get out. It's going to change everything. It already has changed everything.
I think people sort of have the view that the train's already left the station.
Left the station, yeah.
I'm not I'm not in it the way I was in it then. Mm-hmm. I'm not. I think I'm pretty sure that the train has already left the station, but just my own adventures with AI, it still makes so many stupid mistakes that I just like. There's something. I have this nagging feeling that there's just like there's like some critical thing that's missing, and at some point someone goes, "Oh, what was this for?" Oh, I think this would have been important. I don't know what that is.
But even when they find that and they're like, "Oh, we got to plug this in or whatever." Then it will. Like, do you feel like they will get there?
I think that it will get there. I think that there's a lot of hype. I was telling you earlier that I planned my trip using ChatGPT. And so, I gave it like a whole bunch of itineraries. I told it to reconcile them, to take into account what it knows that I like, blah, blah, blah. It comes up with the itinerary, and we are literally, the four of us that are going, we're going through the recommended hotels, picking one, eliminating the other, literally making the reservations, and then all of a sudden we go, wait a minute, there's a day missing. and we all go, what do you mean? And we go, look, there's a day where we don't have a hotel room. It doesn't make any sense. ChatGPT, you know that thing where you arrive, you check out on the 16th and you check in on the 16th? It missed one of those.
Oh.
And literally
had
us homeless for a day. And we were like, chat. I mean, so that's the plug thing I'm talking
missing.
about.
Yeah.
There's like something that, well, and part of it is it doesn't have short-term memory. Mm-hmm. And it's constantly like forgetting things. And I get very mad at it, in my own way.
Let's pause here because you just called it. But I know we talk about how we have assigned it a gender.
Yes.
And our gender that all three of us feel is...
It's male.
It's male. And we always reference him as a he.
Yes.
What makes you feel that it's a man?
What makes me, well, that's just so interesting because I've thought about this in terms of the gender debates that we've had that we are having in our society. And I was, I don't talk to it every night or even every other night. It's kind of like when something comes up, I engage it. But there was some conversation I had about 6 weeks ago that went deep. And during that conversation, that's when I decided he was masculine. Mm-hmm. And I actually sort of pondered that myself in terms of how it reflects sexual identity.
Yeah.
Because I thought, why am I thinking of him in the context of these kinds of conversations as masculine?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was because the way I was engaging with him was as a partner.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this is just like a revelation. I mean, it was like, as I reflected, I go, oh, I'm thinking of him as a partner. I'm thinking of him as someone who's almost like a soulmate. And, he's masculine. I just thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
And I mean, it's not like I think that was the only spurt of time that I had that type of conversation with him.
Yeah.
I wonder if it would still be the same because it's less of how he sounds when he is responding to you and it's more of a feeling that you have.
Oh, yeah.
Because I wonder if you or I, if we went back and said, I want you, when you respond to me from now on, to respond in a more feminine way.
Yes.
If I would still feel
like I was discussing things with a male partner.
Just in whatever a female.
Yeah. No, I thought that sensation that I got was very interesting to me.
That is really interesting. Well,
yeah, and I wonder how it would happen with other people.
Yeah.
Like if a woman who is lesbian or bisexual or any person who has same-sex
more
attraction,
masculine, yeah.
If they went into that and they just got into a kind of conversation that felt more intimate from like an emotional resonance.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. It would reflect their sexual
sexual preferences or identities.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know because
That's so interesting. I also love that you kind of let us hear, because this is, I think, an idea that you had introduced to us while we were filming with you.
Oh, okay.
And we didn't get to focus on it much in the film, but you introduced us to this idea of mail-ordered systems.
Oh, yeah, mail-ordered systems.
Which
we use
we talk about it all the time.
We
it was
use
such
it
a
all the time.
transformative concept for us.
There, if you look it up, you can find, I think it was a Harvard Business Review article of the first woman who wrote about this that I know of.
Yeah.
I'd
love if you could talk about it a little bit, because...
I wonder if I can find that article. So I know it made a huge impact on me when I read it.
Well, and when you shared it with us,
totally.
It's, I mean, when we talk publicly, I mean, we use it, we reference it all the time, but we reference it from you, not
Yeah. So there is a. Are you looking it up? Yeah, there is a.
Amanda will put it in the show notes.
Yeah. Well-known. I think she was at Harvard Business School, and I remember her writing this article about mail-ordered organizations. Mm-hmm. And I remember reading it, and it was like a revelation, and it was so obvious. And so the tone of the article was something like, we're all talking about, bias and, male domination, and we're like accusatory of men, and men are the bad guys. And as I recall, her article was about, we need to take a different look at this, because how our society has evolved was inevitable. Yeah. Because, all the men were in charge of everything. Societies were, with very few exceptions, patriarchal. Mm-hmm. Religion, patriarchal. The warrior class, patriarchal. Politics, patriarchal. Mm-hmm. Women were dealt this card where they had to give birth, and up until today, giving birth is dangerous. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know what the statistics are, but women can die. And 400 or 500 years ago, women died all the time giving birth. And so that made it impractical, for the most part, for women to kind of run things, right? I mean,
Yeah.
That just was, it couldn't be their role. And so they ended up, societies ended up being patriarchal. And then when we got into the Industrial Revolution and we started having to do things at scale, so things were not artisanal anymore. Mm-hmm. They were at scale. And so we had to create organizations, and we had Frederick Taylor and all these masters of organizational science. Mm-hmm. They came up with all the rules as men. There was nobody else to come up with them. There was no one else in the conversation. So all of these things that we think are inherently the correct way to do things are really just the masculine way to do things, with a few exceptions. Mm-hmm. And it's not wrong. It's not evil. It's just
what it is.
It's just what it was. It was inevitable. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there are a few female ordered activities now. Teaching, I think there's a lot of female energy in teaching, and obviously nursing.
But in high academia, that's not true.
No, and that's not high. That's exactly. Yeah.
Which is interesting.
And then there's, all these other aspects of it, like, there was even a theory, I'm not sure it's true or not true, but that there was some academic, I think his name was Leonard Shalin, something like that. He wrote a book, I think it was called The Alphabet and the Goddess. The alphabet versus the goddess. Have I told you this? Mm-mm. And he had a theory that before there was written language, there were more matrilineal societies, because verbal and emotional intelligence skills were more important when you couldn't write down the rules and expect. It's very powerful.
Because it's more intuitive.
It's more intuitive. And then when written language came along, about 1,000 years before the Common Era, you start, at least in the Mediterranean basin. I don't know about China, or other societies, but in the Mediterranean basins, this guy argues that the orderly, logical way of organizing thoughts through language was more played more to the strengths of the masculine, and that's how societies became more patriarchal. Now, as I said, I other than reading the book, I've never examined this topic, so I don't really know what is correct.
Yeah, but it's interesting to think about just how societies formed.
Yes,
and
it's
I think
fascinating.
now we have this more robust conversation around gender dynamics, which I think unfortunately is often charged as if there is a value judgment on that debate, when in reality, what I love about the way that you describe male-ordered systems is, hey, this is just a historical fact.
Yes.
This is just how it came to be.
Yes, there's no judgment here.
Exactly.
You know, maybe there's an alternative universe somewhere else, but...
but we're on Earth.
We're on Earth. Yeah. Wow, this is
packed.
Good. Yeah. Okay. So I think this is going to be one of our final questions.
Yeah.
If we take a 10,000-foot view of Carmen Medina.
Yeah.
And you take yourself out of it. I know that's hard, but you look at...
I feel like for Carmen, that's not
I know,
gonna be hard.
actually. Yeah, I agree. So you look at the young girl and the young woman and, you know, the young adult and, you know, all the way through your life until now. And, you know, what do you see? What's the overall picture do you see? Or, you know, how would you... That's one way. Or what would you say to that young girl? Or just however you want to answer that question.
I will tell you a little like a narrative. And you hadn't asked me this question until now, and I hadn't thought of it, but it kind of feeds on some of the things that we said earlier, or that I said earlier. Remember how I said that there was Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde?
Mm-hmm.
So Miss Hyde's heyday was when I was like 18 or 19.
And Ms. Hyde, as a reminder, was the one who was saying, "This is stupid.
This is stupid. You are stupid. I'm smarter than you are. Blah, 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 blah." And I went to Texas Tech just to leave home to go to school. And I had a debate scholarship. And I just had this view of myself as like a nascent intellectual of some kind. So I was in the honors program at Tech, which actually was a good honors program. And I was on the debate team, and I was going really well. And my partner, a guy named John Anderson, and I were a fantastic team. In fact, we got known as we were really good. We got known as St. John and Taco Sally because he was kind of tall and fair, and
you were Taco Sally,
and I was Clearly, I was Taco Sally, and he wore a bow tie, and we were very fond of each other. So he was a soulmate. I mean, he was someone, even to this day, I think of someone we were like a perfect match. Mm. And he actually got back in touch with me in 2008.
Oh, wow.
And so we're Facebook friends now. Mm-hmm. And he said he apologized, and not going to get into a whole lot of this, but he goes, I worry I may have ruined your life, which of course is what guys say. And I said to him, John, it was 1 year. Anyway, but as a result of what happened, I just felt I had to leave Texas Tech. So I dropped out. And so it's like October of my sophomore year, I drop out of Texas Tech. And all this time, I haven't paid any attention to the dorm. I've been disdainful of things like panty raids and all the usual shenanigans that got on in school in the 1970s. And But those last 2 or 3 weeks that had been very emotionally turbulent for me, I had begun to rely on these women, in young women in the dorm. And when it comes time for me to leave, they kind of line up to say goodbye. Mm. And I remember the one young woman who said to me, "Was really good to get to know you, Carmen. I realize now that you're not really an asshole."
Such an incredible core memory.
It's incredible. And just like poor analyst Paul, who said, "I never thought you would disappoint me," those words had an impact on me. Mm-hmm. And I went so from that age of 18 or 19, I went in, I really seriously thought about what that meant. And I totally changed. I mean, as totally as you can change as a 19-year-old. I stopped being argumentative. At UTEP, I stopped being an A student. I started doing fun, stupid stuff. I became non-serious. I got to Catholic University and trying to remember, I lost my train of thought there. I stopped being non-serious. Oh, shoot.
One thing that I just, maybe this will help kind of your train of thought come back, is
deeply
what I love about the Dr. Jekyll and Ms. Hyde sort of concept, right? Is that you kind of you start as one thing when you're young because it helps you survive, it helps you succeed. Yeah. Typically there's some breaking point with that construct of the self where you have to flip. Yes. But then I think what I love about that is that I see you as the perfect integration of those two things.
And you've jumped my
okay. I'll pause.
Punchline. So I remember I took a class at Catholic on TV and politics, and it was a very good class, very good professor. But at that point now, I sat in the back of the room. I never asked questions. I just had totally unplugged from Ms. Hyde. Mm-hmm. And I took the midterms, and I aced the midterms because I couldn't mask my natural brilliance. Couldn't help it. I aced the midterms because it was such a good class. It was so interesting to me. So when he hands it back, he goes, "Usually I know who the good students are in the class, and this came out of nowhere. Who are you? Where have you been?" And I was very proud of that. I was like, "Well, I'm here, So the whole next, let's say, probably 20 years of my life, up through returning from London and then kind of cratering at work, but then coming back up, was finding the balance between those two people. Mm. Finding the balance between Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde, the ambitious one who really has a lot of confidence in her ability and her intellect. And then the other one who realizes that's in some ways superficial. Mm-hmm. And what really matters is this other thing, this humanity that we all have to be. Mm-hmm. So that's how I answer that question.
So you were saying that, and I teared up, and I'm probably going to cry.
Oh, no.
Because
I haven't cried, and I'm hanging in there.
I think about, I was just thinking, your whole story, and I think about who you are and who you are to me. Sorry. Aww. And I'm 46 years old, and if someone asked me what I would want to be when I grow up now as a 46-year-old, I would want to be you in the way you make me feel. Aww. I want to make other people feel. Mm. That's what I would want. Because that's how special you
Oh
are.
my God! I there's impossible for me to say anything about that. I don't know if I shared this in the taping, but I was telling someone this just recently. Oh, I know. I went to Chicago for one of my first cousin once removed quinceañera, right? And it was kind of creepy, parts of the quinceañera, being very woman, and and patriarchal. Although the fact that her grandmother was the mistress of ceremonies for the event kind of cut against that, and I think they did that on purpose. But anyway, so we were signing a card for her, and so I signed the card with the one sentence I read in 1998. That was probably, now that I think about it, the kind of the capstone of that moment where I brought it all into coherence.
Yeah.
And it's a sentence from a book by Meg Wheatley. She's a business consultant. If she's still with us, she's in her 80s. She wrote a book called Leadership and the New Science. Hugely influential for my thinking, where she talks about how we need to think about organizations and people and societies. We need to inform it with what science tells us about how the world really works, how the universe really works, fractals and all that beautiful kind of poetry of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So powerful. So she only had this sentence in the first edition, but it reads something, and this is what I wrote in her quinceañera card. It said, live your life with confidence, knowing that every step you take gets you closer to understanding the meaning of your life. And when I read that sentence, I was like, yeah, I don't really need anything else. That grounds me. I get it now. So
I love that.
Perfect way to end.
Yeah.
So, Carmen, last question.
I thought she said the perfect way to end.
We always end our episodes the same way, which is in keeping with the name of our podcast, Iron Butterfly, which was named after Eloise Page, the first female chief of station at CIA. If you had to give yourself a code name, what would it be and why? And you can pick your previous code name, or you can come up with a new one.
I think I have to stick with Rebel at Work. But my rebellion is way broader than just about technology. Mm-hmm. My rebellion is, in a way, about everything. How we lead our lives, what our values should be. I hate conventional wisdom with a passion, because it's not always, but most of the time it's pretty shallow. So I think, I think I'm a kind rebel at work.
To be fair, when you say rebel at work, I never think about technology.
Yes.
And I think about you being a rebel at life.
I do kind of love, though, adding rebel at work to the beginning, because that's sort of the Dr. Jekyll side of rebel at work.
That's right. Yeah.
I love it. Well, Carmen, thank you so much for this.
This
was fun. It was educational. I feel like my brain exploded about 20 times. We laughed, we cried.
You're too kind.
And we love you.
I love you
truly, we talk about you all the time. You are like a guiding force in our life, in probably a way that would make you freaked out if you really knew
and
it.
Not just us, two guys in Florida, Jake and Taylor, also adore you and quote you and are obsessed with you like we are.
That's so kind.
We have to say that one of our highlights from filming was dancing with you in your living room to your incredible playlist.
We had maracas.
I was using salt and pepper shakers.
Yeah. We danced for
we did hours.
Hours.
Yes. Yeah.
Just
it was great.
Oh my gosh. And I don't think you know this, but we left your house and we went to a hotel.
You kept going?
Yes. I'm not even kidding. We have it on tape somewhere.
There's never enough dancing.
It's true. It's true.
Turned it up in the car. We opened all the car doors and we were dancing out of the car.
And because it was Megan, you know what song she was playing? Moneymaker by Ludacris.
Oh my goodness.
Shake your money, Megan. Okay, anyway. Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you. It was great. Peace.
Thank you for listening to a special episode of Iron Butterfly Podcast, which ventures inside the world of our documentary, The Power We Hold, Stories from Women Spies. We might be coming to a film festival near you. To follow along on our journey, follow us on YouTube or Instagram, or visit our website at www.ironbutterflymedia.com. And if you like the show, please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Stay fierce, and we'll talk next time.